Thank you for those profound words and heartfelt words that you've just shared with us. At this point, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize for 4 minutes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Conway.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the gentleman holding this hour tonight. In September this year, we celebrated the 230th birthday of our Constitution, a document that has provided for the governance of this great people for 230 years. The history behind that was that the states in 1787 decided that the Articles of Confederation were not properly forming a nation that could protect itself properly. So they sent really, really smart men to Philadelphia to fine-tune or tweak the Articles of Confederation. James Madison and others had a different idea. They locked the doors. They went behind into closed session and came forth with a constitution that we've lived under for the next 230 years. Benjamin Franklin, who was the oldest framer, emerged from that experience. He was asked by a woman we think was named Mrs. Powell. She said, "Good doctor, what have you given us, a monarchy or a republic?" He looked her in the eye and said, "Madam, a republic if you can keep it." That's a big phrase, Mr. Speaker. It is one that carries forward now for 230 years. It never ends. It's not a one-and-done circumstances. So the question arises, how, in fact, do we keep a republic? Well, Mr. Speaker, only a free self-governing people can keep a republic. And as has previously been quoted by my colleague from Louisiana, John Adams wrote that only a moral and religious people can self-govern. Mr. Speaker, as I look at our nation today, I'm deeply concerned that we're losing that moral high ground to be able to maintain the moral authority, in fact, to self-govern. We each say the Pledge of Allegiance often. There's a line in that pledge that says, one nation under God with no comma. Mr. Speaker, think about that juxtaposition. One nation under God. What does God see when he sees our nation today? What's he see in America that in fact can please him? He sees a nation that's come to accept the killing of 57 million babies in the last 44 years. He's seen a nation that's family units are breaking up and the moral impact that has on the impact it has on the moral guidance of children. He's seen a coarsening of our society, a language that's unsuitable, a filthiness and commonness that quite frankly offends him at every level. And maybe you and others that are listening to me tonight, I think, have their own list of things that God looks at and cannot and simply will not bless. Well, how do we turn that around? How do we reclaim that moral high ground? Well, I'm going to argue, Mr. Speaker, that that's an individual job. I don't think any of us would argue that we can legislate this work because this is the work of each and every our hearts. I think you do reclaim this moral high ground by living a moral code. I live the Judean Christian model. Jesus Christ is my personal Savior. I try to live his tenets every single day, and some days I'm better at it than others. And in each of those days, I'm simply a sinner saved by grace. But that grace of God has provided the story of that and how that works is provided for us in the Bible that we celebrate tonight. Mr. Speaker, each one of us have to live a code that in fact can create that moral and religious people. Each of us in this body take an oath every 2 years, those of us are fortunate enough to get reelected, to defend and protect the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We've got good men and women in uniform tonight who are putting their lives between us and some really bad guys, and as a result of that oath of office. I'm going to ask each of my colleagues here tonight to think about what they're willing to put on the line to protect and defend the Constitution, to help create that moral fiber, that reclaim that moral high ground that will in fact allow us to continue self-governance and by extension protecting this republic. That used to be the easy thing to do, Mr. Speaker, but the voices against us, the voices of intolerance are growing louder and louder every single day. It will risk to stand up for those biblical truths on which this country was founded and on which has sustained her for some 230 years. Are you and I, in fact, willing to take those risks, to take the risk of to being ostracized, to being ridiculed, to being made fun of because we stand up for the truths that all of us know built and sustain this country? I certainly hope we are, because we've got young men and women in uniform who put their lives on the line, and I'm going to ask you to put your reputation and my reputation on the line to help create and maintain this republic. As Benjamin Franklin said, it is a republic, madam, if you can keep it. Strong words for a strong-hearted people that must reclaim the high ground, the moral high ground that God, in fact, continue to bless. Mr. Speaker, I ask that God bless each one of us, that God continue to bless Texas, and that God bless the United States of America. Now yield back.